Hi, and welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs. And I am very excited to introduce you to Rachel Sickler, who is the owner of Sickler Circle View Farm. So, Rachel, thank you for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. And
Great.
Jean is our lovely host and going to intro you too.
Okay, sounds good.
Rachel, when I read information about you, and I apologize, I've never been to your farm and I have to change that. But when I started reading you, it just drew me in because what you're trying to do is not only provide great products and sustainable products and, at a great value to, local consumers, but you're out there trying to educate the people about getting your hands in the dirt and what farming is all about and what quality products are all about and, what the difference is between buying something locally on a farm and buying something, from the local convenience store. And it just resonates within me because it's something I've supported my whole life as a chef and doing all that. But how did you get started in all this? Did you grow up or did David grow up on a farm or?
Yeah, so my husband he grew up on his family's generational dairy farm. And actually he still manages the crops. They do corn, soybeans, hay, grains just to feed the dairy cattle. So my husband manages the crops on the dairy farm as well as milking cows still on that farm. So he kind of grew up with that type of knowledge. Um, and just the ins and outs of being in agriculture. I actually did not grow up in agriculture, production agriculture. My family had a dairy farm back in the day, but it was before I was ever around. So my mom's a banker, my dad's a truck driver. So I had horses growing up, and I always had a love of agriculture. I was in FFA in high school, which is Future Farmers of America. So, and took agriculture science classes. So I'm very passionate about it, and it kind of kicked off my interest into agriculture. And then, of course, being in a small town, a rural community that's really based a lot of around agriculture, I found my husband. So, yeah, that was the beginning of our relationship. And then, he, of course, wanted to go out on his own and buy his own farm. So he actually learned a different trade and turned that into purchasing a farm. So that's why we're first generation on our farm that we have here.
So, for our listeners, they are located in Monroeville, New Jersey, and your big products are USDA certified meats for the most part, chicken, poultry, and meats. Do you have other products besides that? I know you have eggs and all, but are you doing any type of crops as well, or just focusing on the USDA and eggs and poultry?
So we are grain farmers as well. So what I sell in my farm store is our beef and our pork that we raise here on the farm. We have local pasture raised chicken as well, and then also our eggs. But what we produce here on the farm, in addition to the USDA certified meats, is we also grow non-GMO corn, non-GMO soybeans, and then other grain crops as well, and then forages that we feed our livestock. So everything that our animals eat is what we produce here on the farm. So we make all of our own feed for our animals. And of course, in addition to that, we sell grain to, off the farm as well.
And that's not an easy thing to say. Do you provide all your own grain? That's a lot of work. If people don't know, cattle and animals they eat a lot of grain, and I mean, it's something that's a very time consuming process to be doing both, and you guys are doing it with total transparency about your products and being non-GMO. And for people who don't know, non-GMO corn is not something that you're finding a tremendous amount of anymore. Corn is we're starting to see a little bit more, but I'm of the age where 20 years ago or 15 years ago, non-GMO corn was extremely rare because everywhere you went, they were modifying it to grow better, to grow faster, to get a better yield, everything that they were doing. And it's wonderful to see what you're doing and that passion that you guys have to produce products that are better for us, because if we keep, working with genetically modified products, God knows what we're going to be. Was that a passion that you shared, or you both set out with to say, hey, we have to put an end to this whole process and start to go with better products, or, was it something you just happened upon?
Well, kind of both. So truthfully, whenever my husband started farming this farm, our farm now, he did it conventionally, just like he learned on his family's dairy farm. So regular tillage of the soil, using the same types of crops, GMO, whatever crops that they had over on the dairy farm. But he found at the end of the day that you're growing, just the 40 acres of corn, and you're making maybe $3,000. And there's a lot of effort that goes into doing all that to really not profit a whole lot. And when you have a mortgage as first generational farmers, and you're renting equipment to be able to do it, there's really nothing left at the end of the day. So that kind of started on him thinking there must be something else for us to be able to do to become more profitable. So truly, the initial start of our regenerative agriculture experience journey has been because of profit and trying to just find a better way. And then as we started doing more research and reading more about it and finding more reputable farmers, primarily out west at the time, because this is 10 years ago now, that were doing these types of things, we found that there were so many other benefits that we didn't even realize. And then, just doing corn and soybeans on our farm as first generational farmers, we wanted to diversify our income. And instead of just doing, grain, we needed to find diversity and stack enterprises on our acres. So that's whenever we figured out how to bring the livestock into the picture. And really, it helps in so many ways having the livestock and the non-GMO crops working together in the many systems that we have here on the farm. So really, to answer your question, it was out of necessity at first because we just were trying to find a better way. But after educating ourselves and attending a lot of sustainable agriculture conferences and things like that, because Dave and I are nerds, and that's what we did whenever we were dating. And instead of going on vacation, we went to agriculture conferences. So yeah, that was kind of how we happened upon this. And now we just have really been leaning into it because of the crop rotations and having the animals out on our crop ground. And our soils are naturally, the microbial activity is just, when you have livestock grazing where you're planting crops, your soil is just going to be healthier. So having that nutrient cycle out there, it's allowed us to lean even harder into non-GMO crops, and the seed's cheaper, just saying. So it's profitable all the way around, we have found, with the way that we've been managing it.
Well, you're not nerds. So I attended Delaware Valley College of Science and Agriculture, so I get exactly where you're coming from. It's a wonderful thing to learn more about agriculture and be able to get your feet wetted and your hands dirty, and a little dirt under the fingernails is a really wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. You are kind of a CSA, but not really a CSA. The fact that you do, and we're big CSA supporters here at Food Farms and Chefs, but you do bundles and you allow people to purchase some different things like that, and get involved in the farming aspects for that. But explain how you work with the public in getting them in and being able to provide products for them through the year.
So initially, we did not take cattle to the butcher every month out of the year. It was just spread out throughout the year. And we started finding a need for people who want to shop in smaller amounts at a time. They just didn't have the storage at home. They don't have the large freezers, the ability to take home a bunch of meat at one time. So we were originally started with shares. We started with selling a quarter beef, a half beef, a whole beef. And then we got into pigs and doing the same. And then we kind of found that, people wanted that smaller quantity. Sorry, there's a tractor going by. Okay. So I started allowing for pickup on the farm just being able to order, not, you know, here, an item here, item there, and being able to shop a freezer that we had on the farm. And then when COVID hit, that completely changed everything. So we went from just having where people could come and pick up a few things here and there to being open regular hours throughout the week. And then we've kind of expanded our hours from there. So right now, if someone wanted to just come try a product, they could just come during our regular business hours and pull some things from the freezer that I have available. For me, it's been a learning curve for learning how people shop different times of the year and getting my animals cut up that way that people are shopping that time of year. So it's been a learning curve. I'm not from a, you know, I'm not a foodie. I'm not from the food, you know, I'm meat and potatoes, very simple, but I've learned a lot, and leaning into that food space and learning from different chefs and things that can be done with the cuts of our meat. Our butcher is a huge advocate of ours. They've been very helpful. I've learned a lot and been able to market our product year round.
Well, I love to, your marketing. Like, so coming up on November 25th, I believe it is, you have a small business Saturday event. I love this event because I'm a big small business Saturday person, but I think I have to make it over to your farm for this. You have a DJ, you have pig roast, you have vendors, and you have pictures with Santa on the farm. I cannot think of a better way to spend a small business Saturday than supporting small vendors and small businesses on a farm as part of the pig roast. Because to me, there's no better animal in the entire world than a pig. I swear by pork, and it's the thing. If I ever had to be one thing on a deserted island, and just give me the pig, and I would be happy. That.
Yeah.
And the old statement that pigs are my superhero because they take garbage and turn it into bacon. But what a wonderful thing you're doing for that. And I think everybody listening should think about this. What a great way to spend a Saturday family after Thanksgiving. You got kids going on. What are you going to do? Get out to the farm, see Santa, partake in the pig roast, and support small business as well as supporting the farm. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of vendors you're going to be having that day?
Well, so it initially started out as just the different small businesses I work with that I bring into the farm store, because I have other locally curated products in the farm store as well. So that's how it started, and it's kind of grown from there. So we'll have a local brewery, a local winery. I'll have vendors that make tallow products from beef fat. So they render down the tallow, make like tallow bombs and things like that. I'll have a local bread maker. We're going to have local crocheting. There's going to be Spotted Horse Provisions, who you you guys interviewed. So they'll be here. I'm going to probably have the chicken farmer that I have here. I have a lot of different, I could go on and on. Macrame, so crafts, food, just a little bit of everything. I try to get as many local farmers that are selling direct to consumer out here as I can. So I know that there'll be probably an organic farm here as well with their veggies. So yeah, just a big variety of things. It turned into way more than I anticipated, but I've learned through this process that I'm not just selling people meat. We're celebrating community. We have a story to share, and people love knowing that, having that connection with us. And I want them to have that connection with other small businesses as well, because that creates community. And that's, I think, what we're lacking a lot these days. Everyone's so disconnected. So I feel like it's a great way to celebrate that.
Please preach it, Rachel. Absolutely, 100%. You are speaking the truth there. That community feel. So looking through some of the things you do too out there, your bundles you put together, I'm blown away at the prices. How inexpensive your bundles are, and I use a butcher that I've worked with for years, and I use some community. We have one up here in Bucks County I work with, and then some of it I bring in. I have some stuff shipped in from Iowa as well, from somebody that we ran across doing some catering events out there. But I was looking at one of your bundles, and please, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you, to go and look at Sickler Circle. Of course, go to their farm website, and we'll talk about that, Sickler Circle View Farm. But look at their specials. Like, I don't know, there's hundreds and hundreds of dollars in meat here. If anybody's been to the shop or shopping lately, and you have it listed at $212, like, I'm looking at that, I'm like, wow, like, for farm fresh quality, to be able to get short ribs and pork loin and steaks and ground beef and tenderloin and ham and spare ribs and bacon ends, which as well as bacon, and all for that price. Like, wow, like, you are, that's kind of your freezer stock to get you through the winter, and make you feel good too, because every time you open up that freezer, you pull something out. That's going to make you feel good, So what else do you got going on as we wind down on time here in the fall? Do you have other open house events coming up or anything like that our listeners should be, jumping out there to come out to Salem County and see?
So the small business Saturday events are our biggest thing. But if you come anytime during our regular business hours, I always have a helper in the farm store intentionally so I can show people around our farm. So I do pop-up farm tours. Like, people come through are asking a lot of questions. I'm like, just come on out back. Let's just take a walk. Yeah. So, that is really it. In the past, my husband and I have organized where we do like pasture walks. I don't know if we'll be able to get to that again this year. But I'm thinking in the spring. So sign up for an email newsletter. I don't send out a lot of emails newsletters because I just don't have the time. But I do make sure I mention those things whenever I do send them out. I do want to do another one of those in the future. I really hope to do some farm to table dinners in the future. I have some great local chef contacts now that would love to work with. So those are all things that are on the horizon for us. And if you just sign up for our email newsletter, you'll probably be in the know.
In the last minute that we have, can you tell our listeners where they can find you on social media and where they can find the farm?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook and Instagram primarily. You can find us at, if you just search sicklerscircleview.com. And then if you are wanting to come to our physical location, it's actually in the barn where I am right now, which is the old milking parlor when this used to be a dairy farm before we owned it. But our farm store's here, and we're right next to Pole Tavern Circle. It's in Monroeville, New Jersey. And you can find, if you search us on Google, you can find our website and address and everything there as far as our business hours go.
And, your email blast that you were sending out, and I know you were doing a blog there for a little while. I get it, because if you go to the website, folks, you see the pictures, running a farm, running a family, and two of the most adorable little children in the whole world in the pictures too. So, I think you have your hands full.
A little bit, but thank you. I appreciate that. Really kind words. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs. We appreciate what you're doing, and we certainly support what you're doing out there to promote community.
Thank you.
All right. And on that note, we will be right back after this short break. Hi and welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs. And I'm very happy to introduce all of you to Dorothy McIntyre, who is the proprietor, owner, founder of Forest Farmers Market. And I found out through research, you just also started another one, which is, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, the Montea Farmers Market. Manita. I knew I was going to mess it up. Something.
There's going to went through that before.
I know, but I didn't. But anyways, Dorothy, welcome to Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you for joining us. Now I know that farmers markets were not something that, you went into as a career initially. You do have a nursing background.
I do. I went to nursing school. I was in nursing for about 10 years, and then my children started doing sports, and then travel sports came into the play, and it was just too difficult to try and do the classic shifts for nursing and get them to sports practices. So the kids took over, and
Yeah.
then the farmers market took over after that, after they finished their sporting careers.
And I feel like you can kind of condense all of that into like a shortened, abridged version, obviously, but all of it kind of ties into one another. Like in order, like as a nurse, like obviously your health is a concern, and how you eat, what you take in, that kind of changes your health in general. But given that you had children who were in sports and traveling, what they were intaking, all have, like, obviously it meant something. Like they had to eat the right stuff and the right calorie intake to keep themselves going. But all of that was very easy for you, probably, in the Northeast in New York, where you used to live. But you moved to Virginia, and you came face to face with the lengthy drive
Exactly. Yeah.
of trying to find, farm fresh foods and healthy organic, foods. So I feel like I kind of like usurped, a little bit of your story by saying all of that. But how did you get into running the farmers market?
Okay. So I look back and I always did do some kind of local. When I was growing up on Long Island, there were local farm stands, and we would go there during the season, but never like the 12 months of the season.
Yeah.
Then, funny enough, we did live in Bucks County in Percy for a short time. And we would go and we'd find the apple festivals, and there was a Bolton's turkey farm, I think. I don't know whether that's still there. We would go there and we get apples and turkey and chicken. Then our move to Virginia, it kind of went away a little while. But as the kids did get older, I needed to find fresh fruit, vegetables for them. I just wasn't happy with what I could find in the grocery store and the flavors. So we just started going to the farmers markets here. And then we moved, and it was difficult to get to, it wasn't totally difficult, but it was it put an hour and a half more into going down there to the market. And sometimes the farmers weren't there that I was expecting to be there. So I'd make this trek down there and I come home empty handed, and it was like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
So I talked with the county, on one of those weekends, that Monday after I went down there and nothing was there that I thought, called up the county and said, why isn't there a farmer's market? Because we're the mostly densely populated in the area. And they were like, we don't know. Why don't you look into that? And they had me working with Extension, with Virginia Tech Extension. And I worked with him for a year, along with several other people, and created the market. So
and I have to applaud you, because you went above and beyond. Like, my favorite quote when I was researching, and it was redundant through the different articles, was your husband saying,
yeah.
yes,
he was like, not being polite, but shut up or do something about it, because I'm tired of hearing about this. Yeah.
Which, like, if you harken back to like any relationship ever, like I feel it. I almost feel like I hear it, like, okay then. And you kind of just pulled your, big girl panties up. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying some of the stuff I'm saying, but you did. And you started doing something about it.
Menopause has that effect on you.
Like, okay, fine.
Yep.
Yeah, challenge accepted, right?
Yep.
And now one thing that I couldn't find is when you actually started, like, in as being part of the board of your local agricultural
When did I start? Well, when I had the concept of having the market back in 2010, Extension asked me to come to the board. And if you ever talk to the chairman, I was like this meek little person just saying, I just want a farmer's market. And then about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I would go on and off, maybe twice a year to the ag board meetings and go in and tell them, this is what's going on. We've grown, what our challenges were, what our goals were met and things like that. But about 2 or 3 years ago, there was an opening and they approached me and said, would I be interested? And I jumped on it because the ag board is so special that it encompasses ag, but like probably 18 months, 2 years ago, there was this whole thing about solar farms, how it related to farmland. And that was a big discussion for us for a long time, actually, about whether that would be allowed in our county. So the ag board does work with ag, but then it's bigger than that too.
Yeah. And I want to kind of just side note too, because you and I discussed this previously through email. Like the thing is Virginia is for lovers, and like Virginia is gorgeous. Like I don't know if our listeners out there have like traveled, to Virginia, but it is definitely a place that you need to travel to and visit because it's gorgeous. It's fall. The leaves are all changing. You have you have the mountainous areas. There's tons of stuff to do. Like, maybe layer up and go cavern seeking, but like definitely like on a Saturday, because I think it's like through what's October, the
end of October, we stop our weeklies, but then we go monthly.
Yeah.
So so we go 12 months out of the year.
Yeah. And don't you do it like bi-monthly during the winter time?
No, we do once a month, the second Saturdays of the month. The only one that it is the glitch of that is I'll do the Saturday before Thanksgiving, so that people can get their fresh fruits and vegetables and their meats and their fresh turkeys right before the Thanksgiving. So otherwise it's the second Saturdays.
Yeah. Now, I'm mentioning that because you had mentioned the solar farms. I'm not a big, like, I understand the purpose behind solar farms, but it's like visually speaking, it's not the prettiest. So I'm like, but that made me think, oh, I know, like, I wanted to mention the fact that Virginia is for lovers. Like it's a romantic like area to go to, like, or really family. Yeah. Or like bring your whole family. Like it's a gorgeous area to visit. So, and who doesn't love a good farmer's market?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now one other thing that I through research through I want to mention the fact that I did find this article. Who was it? Rachel, I think Rachel Smith. Yeah.
She is amazing.
Yeah. So I'm notating like a couple of things that were written by Rachel Smith in her articles about you and about your farm or farmers market. And so I just want to like give a shout out to her for that too.
But she's amazing.
And yeah. And speaking of shout outs, you grew your farmers market from 11 vendors to like 40 plus vendors.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. That part has been really special to watch it grow and just see both the consumer and the vendors. Because this year I was really cognizant of trying to do customer counts, and during our high season, we were about 2,000 people a day. So
wow,
I mean, we're slowing down a little bit, but fall festivals, there's soccer tournaments, there's lots of different things for people to do. So they're kind of, when they can, they squeeze us in, but we still run about 1,500 people a day on a Saturday.
Well, that's a lot. And I mean, but you have a lot of vendors and there's a lot of stuff to look, see, taste, touch, go shop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I get probably 4 to 5 requests every week to be part of the market. And it's just, it's gotten to the point where I have to be very careful in what I bring in so that I'm not doubling up and tripling up on the same items. One thing though, recently I brought in English pub food that they bring in, which has been really interesting to bring in, and they bring in English breakfast food too. So I have that coming in. But this past Saturday, I met with a gentleman that wants to bring in Indian street food.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that would be amazing because in my town and even in the general area, we only have one Indian restaurant. So It would be so cool to have that. And I'm hoping that that works out. I gave him some information. I'm waiting for him to relax after I give him, I overload them with information, just so that they understand that you just can't come. There's
Yeah.
like a procedure. And I'm hoping that he'll contact me this week so we can get started in getting him there, in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, because that I would, if I lived near you, I would get so excited. I love Indian food.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
So,
I love any food that has a lot of flavor and like just an infusion of like, if you light off my palate with like flavor, I'm gonna be super happy with you.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm
Um,
excited for that one.
yeah, I would be excited for you. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I also want to give a nod to the fact that you have 3 vendors who have been with you since the get-go.
Yeah.
I don't know who those vendors are, but I would love for you to give them a shout out.
Sure. I have one Sandyfoot Farm. They're in Pamplin, Virginia. They started with me. They had started working at a different farm, and then they purchased land and have been with me ever since. They're all of them are sustainable. They you can't really say organic unless you go through a whole big process.
Yeah.
So my vendors are sustainable. So that's one of them. Then I have Walnut Winds out of Blair's, Virginia. He's really interesting because as I've had him over the 13 years, he has a large farm, over 300 acres, but he has slowly started to sell to one of the grocery stores in he's on the border of Virginia and North Carolina. He sells now to one of the larger grocery stores in the area.
Okay.
So that's
Good
pretty
for
cool.
him.
And then he sells at 3 different markets. And then I actually have he does mostly plants and landscaping.
Okay.
But he does bring in, he has produce there too, and he's been with me. And then actually I had thought in the article I had forgotten about one of them too, that I have a guy that does barbecue.
Oh,
He's been with me. He's been pretty much my only hot food. So yeah, he now sells on Amazon his barbecue sauces.
who?
Pretty cool.
What's his
Is it
name?
Cupid's.
Cupid's?
I think it might be Mr. Cupid's Barbecue.
Nice.
So
Because I'm like, I love giving shout outs to like, people who are like, who have been involved since the get-go, only because it's like, it helps you grow.
oh yeah.
So just out of curiosity, what are some of the other vendors that you have on a regular basis?
I have a gentleman that does spices. He comes regularly, but then during the fall season, he hits some of the festivals, and he'll run all the way down to Florida. He'll come, but then his base is at the farmers market.
Mm-hmm.
I have that. I have Jams and Jellies. She's local. She lives about 20 minutes from the market. I have bison. I'm one of the few in the area that has most of the proteins. I have beef, pork, chicken, turkey, rabbit, bison, and lamb.
Okay. So I know there's going to be like vegetarians out there that will bombard me.
I could talk about that afterwards. But
yeah, I was going to say, but like, no, not for that reason, but like for what I'm about to say, which is I mean, I love bunnies. They're super cute, but rabbit meat is so good.
Yeah. I've had it a couple times. She does an amazing job with it, but that's just not, some people like it, and I've had it and I like it, but it's not something that I'm going to eat often.
On a regular. Yeah. I mean, it is a tedious meat because there's so many tiny. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I won't go into further detail because it'll really aggravate our like vegetarian and vegan listeners. But off of that, do you have a vegan vendor?
Well, I have a lot of my baked goods, they will have something that is vegan. So we do have the opportunity for people to purchase vegan baked goods. And then the rest of it, we have I think 6, maybe 7 produce vendors. So there's a wide variety of produce that they can just purchase while we're there. A lot of obviously the classics of tomatoes and cucumbers, but I have lettuce, I have Italian dandelion greens, which are
Oh,
you
nice.
think-
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, who
If
eats
okay.
dandelion greens? But they're bitter Italian, so they've got this amazing flavor to them.
Yeah.
So salad turnips, what else? Classic garlic and ginger and turmeric, and then all sorts of lots of lettuce and greens. We're
Yeah.
blessed that they can grow either out in the open or under high tunnels. We can keep the greens in most of the year.
Yeah, which is
pretty
good.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially because you are year round.
Yeah.
So I want to touch base real quick because I know that I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name because I already forgot how to pronounce it correctly.
That's okay.
I know that you closed out that farmer's market, but do you have
Manitas, yes.
yes. Do you
Okay.
have intentions of making that year round as well?
At this time, probably not. That one ran for, I think, 18 weeks. We were pretty successful. Farmers markets are hard, so if you can make it through, and I maintained over 10 vendors there, so I felt like that was a pretty good success. The customer base was pretty strong. I did do a survey to see, what they wanted. They're looking for the produce and baked goods. I will be starting again next year, some changes, little tweaks. Because it's in the heat of the day, we're gonna shorten it a little bit. It was just brutal some days. So we'll go 3 to 6. We'll also start a little bit earlier. We started the end of May. We'll start the 1st of May this year. The location that I was at, it's pretty neat. I had looked at multiple locations, and this one fit most of what I needed, where most of the time on a farmer's market, you don't want to be on asphalt because just the radiant heat during the summer just kills the vendor and kills the product.
Yeah.
So I needed to get on grass. I found a location that was perfect for that. Had to order porta johns because we were just out in the field kind of thing. We were close to a location that had restroom facilities, but not quite close enough. That particular location, though, has approached me now and has like, hey, instead of doing that, why don't you just use our restrooms, and you can use our electricity? So the community saw the importance of this, and they saw the success of it. So they're now, everybody would be a little bit cautious of something new coming in, but they saw the benefits of it. So now they're like, okay, well, you're doing it next year. Let's see how much more we can help and how much more you can grow, which is pretty cool.
Which is very, very cool. So we have we're over time a little bit, but let our listeners know where to find you online, so that if they want to visit, they can plan their trips.
There's a website. It's forestfarmersmarket.com. That has the information of the locations and the times. If you go to the state has a Virginia grown website, you can go there and put in any farmers market in the state, and hopefully they've registered, and you can find them on that website as well.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Dorothy.
Oh, thank you for finding me. This was great.
No problem. And I look forward to our listeners visiting you, and I will stay in touch to find out more information later on. All right. Thank you so much.